giving us the opportunity to be associated with CTO Forum. It's an absolute honor and a privilege. I think there are a lot of distinguished guests today. The idea really for us to have this knowledge sharing experience and not so much of a boring session is really about the fact that security is becoming top of mind for almost everybody. So I will start with a simple hypothesis and then maybe take this as a conversation. I don't profess to be any more intelligent than you are, but the fact that I have the benefit of talking to roughly around 300 CIOs in India and SAARC gives me that slight leverage where I think there's so many stories I know which I like to share. And hopefully through this conversation, there's consensus right at the end of the session where you believe, much like I, that this war can be won, right? So again, thank you so much. And this is not a monologue. Interrupt me anytime if you have a question, so that we have this discussion, a dialogue, right? So again, what I'll try and do is, like I said, build my hypotheses. Now this is where I start. How many of you really believe that security is a tactical necessity and not a strategic imperative? And I'll probably, before you raise your hand, let me give you a bit of context. Everybody's talking about cybersecurity. Let's go back 5 years before. When we talk of security, did we feel as concerned as we are today? Just go back 5 years. I think we all knew security was there, but for us security was like, just having a firewall tick in the box. Correct? It was, I have something which has to protect something, but we never got seriously interested into what that something was. But today, I heard Mr. Taman talk about online transactions, the concern with sleepless nights. So what has changed? So here's my question again. How many of you today, in the context, how many of you believe it's a tactical necessity versus a strategic imperative? Now, strategic for me is you start thinking security when you design something right up front. Tactical necessities, it comes right in the last. So let me give you one more example. When IT budgets are decided, and I'm sure you probably know this, it doesn't start with security. It starts with applications, goes down infrastructure, goes down people, and then whatever is left, maybe give it to security. Make sense? So, how many of you think it's tactical necessity? Raise your hands. Just me? So at least I have one customer to convert, because everybody else who didn't raise their hands has admitted it's a strategic imperative, right? So let me try and take you through this journey. I agree with you. Why? Why do I say? So I said 5 years ago, we were not concerned. What has changed in 5 years? I'll give you 3 trends which I think are irreversible. In my mind, you cannot change these 3 trends. So go along with me. If you disagree, just put your hand up and say, I disagree. First trend that has changed and is changing very rapidly is globalization. I think the world is flattened. It's really virtual boundaries. There's nothing physical anymore. All of us are connected to people across the globe, whether it's business or it's personal. You agree? Globalization?
Yes, sir.
You think it will go back ever? I don't think so. Second trend is digitization. Everything is coming online. And I dare say this with humility, that I can actually find out about who you are as an individual in 30 minutes time. I just need to look into your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile. I'll tell you what food you like, what clothes you wear, where do you shop most, what's your favorite place, where your son is studying. Makes sense? Digitization. Everything is coming online. I'm sure there's something called a digital Bangladesh. And everybody's talking about it.
Soon after it starts with digital India.
Yeah, it is. So we followed Bangladesh. Right? But the point that I'm making is everything is going digital. Will this trend change? So let me give you a small story. I'm from IT, spent 25 years. I have a niece, 19 years old, and she thinks I'm a dinosaur. I'm outdated. Why? Because for her, the operating system is Facebook. When I grew up, it was DOS. Anybody remember DOS? Try telling your kid today what is DOS. And I'm telling you, the look on their face is like, what the hell are you talking about, man? You're really old. Yeah. So my point really is that in a world which is so digitally connected, today's kids see Facebook as an operating system. That's just the baseline. And more to come. So that's the second trend. The third trend is mobility. How many of us today really, just take as an example, just a bank. How many of us do we really go to the branch every single day or go use the net for your banking? Everything is becoming mobile. Infrastructure, right? And I'm not talking just the smartphones. Even infrastructure is going mobile. Let me give you another example of this. How many of you right now have a smartphone where you connect to your corporate network, which is your mails? How many of you do that? Almost everybody? So let's say the users went off the network because you are here attending, I think, an interesting session, and I promise to make that one, and yet you have access to your network. So the users are off the network. The second, how many of you go access Hotmail, Google applications? Do all applications reside on your corporate network, or do you go outside of that as well? So applications are of the network, right? The best part is the network is of the network. You heard something called Amazon? And Amazon says, don't buy DR, disaster recovery. Come to me, I will give you everything. Compute, operating system, provision, users, space, storage, whatever. Don't build your DR. Now the network, the compute is got of the network. What world is this? Again, contrast this 5 years, everything, we had a desk to go to, we started the computer, locked on, and then access an application. Today, you don't need a desk. You can be in your cinema theater and you can do exactly the same thing. So when you look at these trends, and I talk about everything of the network, the one common glue with mobility, with digitization, and with globalization is what? What's the common glue that's stitching all this up? Anybody? It's called the internet. Internet is enabling these three trends, yes? And may I dare say, even internet is getting revolutionized to Internet 2.0. Think what's going to come. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because security, for me, is an approach. It's not a product. Whoever thought it was a product, probably in my books, in my thought process, I disagree. Because products can do a job, but they do a damn good job looking at what has already occurred. And then you have the wisdom of knowing what occurred and trying to fix it. That to me is reactive thinking. You know, when I know what happened, these threats came, I put it into my feature set and I can solve that problem. Does security work like that? No. Security is really about what's going to come from the future. Right? That's why I say it has to be an approach. Why? Because security will involve three things. And they have to be integrated. People, process, and technology. Agreed? People who need an automated process that can leverage the technology to deliver security. Now, one more and my last controversial statement. Security is not a product. When I say it's an approach, for me, the definition of security is when you have an outcome defined. Right? People, process, and technology have to deliver security in an outcome form. So let me give you another simple analogy. We have our defense forces. A man with a gun. Now, just having the man with the gun with no outcome, does it make sense? I think the idea is the man who has a gun should kill the enemy even before you get attacked. I think the operative word is kill the enemy. Now, if I can't succeed in doing that, whether I had the man or not is irrelevant. Make sense? So